You're listening to Your Raw.
Your Raw.
Your Raw.
On 12:51 a.m.
Hello and welcome to Close Up, your bi-weekly review show. My name's James.
I'm Josh.
I'm Dan. I believe I'm called Michael.
Fair enough. I believe. Last time I checked. Dear Raw, get us some chairs that function as chairs. I don't know about you, but for me, a chair's one. I imagine a chair was one of the first inventions, like a tree stump or something, just to sit on that. Okay, so a chair's a fairly simple thing. When you can't sit on a chair, it has lost its purpose in this world.
It just looks like on these chairs, well, they're just stuck on random levers. You hit them and they do nothing. They're meant to do levery things.
Our chairs don't like being sat upon. I think that's the problem. They're revolting against us.
If our chairs played DVDs or something like that, I wouldn't mind, because at least they'd have another function. But they don't. After the shambolic mess of End of the Line last week.
No one who's listening now will have heard our show last week, so we don't really have to dig up.
Sophie was listening.
I'm sure she bailed, halfway through, because it was not a great show.
We just got around to insulting.
Yeah, we figured out it's because Katie, our lovely predecessor on a Monday morning, was not here last week. So
she wasn't, but she is here this week. So this is a good omen. This is going to be a good show. I think we should get right on with our first with our movie news. And our movie news this week is the winners of the BAFTA. Guys, best film, The Artist. Was it ever going to be anything else?
Oh, I don't really see how. No, it's. Does anyone reckon? Someone actually brought up an interesting point yesterday. They were like, "Is The Artist really that good a film?" I'm not doubting it because I haven't seen it yet. I really want to, but do you reckon most of it is a nostalgia factor?
I'm yet to see it, but there must be a degree of that. I think for Oscar, there's definitely a degree of that sort of backwards looking.
Yeah, I think the thing with Oscar as well is that it's all about The Artist has been pretty profitable.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. Don't know why I did air quotes. We're on radio, but it's also they do all tend to actually reward a certain. They don't tend to reward blockbusting innovations and stuff like that, a la Inception or Avatar or that kind of stuff. But they do tend to reward a sort of if you bring back a classical form of cinema, you bring that back, or something a little bit more cerebral. They do tend to jump on that bandwagon. I think a lot of the Academy just take it as a silent film. It's got a bit of buzz behind it and go, oh, this is something I can put my vote on and I won't look like an idiot. I think there's a bit of that as well.
It is about momentum, isn't it? It's about the zeitgeist. It's about what's really popular at the time. If you remember, sort of this time, the King's Speech was, it was a machine. So much money. Exactly. It was a rolling behemoth, wasn't it? I don't think. I wouldn't call it necessarily the nostalgia factor, because I don't think it's from a period
that a lot of those voters are going to be around
those
for.
People,
not really,
I think you kind of hinting at something. Maybe it's more. Hollywood does like that kind of looking back to an older period. I mean, for example,
It's a mock fire alarm. It's gonna. Yep. There we go. It's gone.
There we go. Yeah, Hollywood does like with Sunset Boulevard. Hollywood does like commenting upon itself. It likes that kind of thing. That kind of thing tends to win awards, doesn't it?
It also it likes to.
Didn't hear that, Josh.
Films about film also tend to rub them up the right way.
Yeah,
so I think that's a big factor. I think basically The Artist checks off a lot of points. I'm sure it's a good film. I've not seen it either.
Yeah,
I would be surprised if I went and saw it and thought it was anything less than a fine film.
I will put money on there being a backlash for sure. It's going to rank alongside Slumdog and King's Speech as a film that's good. Maybe not quite great.
Well, to be fair,
though,
those years I think there were better films up against Slumdog and the King's Speech. I'm not sure. Again, I have to send this from the rather uneducated standpoint of not having seen The Artist yet. I'm not sure there is a distinctive game-changing film this year. Last year, I thought The Social Network and Inception were films that completely rejigged the genre. I don't think there's anything there this year that's doing that. I think this year, as a general rule, The Artist is lead. Not a weak bunch, because there's a lot of good films in there. But in terms of a memorable year for film, I don't think people look back in 2011 and think there was a lot of really high caliber award stuff there.
Drive.
Well, yeah, but nobody gives
Tinker Tailor Turkey Twizzler.
No, it's just not.
It's just not. It's not even featured. Gosling, who gives a phenomenal. You think they might even give Gosling a nod? I don't think. I've watched Drive. I didn't think it would. I think it's pretty. The way it's such a bloody. It's actually kind of a trashy film with a pretty simplistic story.
Yeah. I
didn't think they would give Drive in it. I thought Gosling was its only hope, and they haven't done. They've given him other things, or well, the Academy haven't, but a couple of the other awards things have given him nods in other directions. But yeah, I just think Drive is exactly the sort of film that, you know, people 20 years from now, you look back and you think, yeah, people will still be talking about Drive. Who's going to still be talking about the artist? In fact, earlier this weekend I was talking with my dad. We were talking about Lord of the Rings, and the first Lord of the Rings film, and we were reflecting on that. We're thinking, oh yeah, that was a great film. That's 10. That's no, actually more. It's like 11 years since that film came out. Did it win the Oscar that year? No, it was beaten by A Beautiful Mind. When was the last time you heard anyone talk about A Beautiful Mind?
I talk about it all the time. I open with it on dates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Successful dates?
Yeah. No. No. We never bring Russell Crowe into your date. Just, literally and figuratively.
Moving swiftly on.
Right. Michael's on the list in front of you. Michael starred various categories, so I'm presuming he wants me to talk about those.
We don't have time for everything. It's 9
Talk about the first star. It's making me excited.
Outstanding British film at the BAFTAs this year: Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy. Guys, what did you think?
So all you people that walked out of the student cinema screening, suck that.
That was I think that was primarily directed at Sebastian Jones there. Walking out of Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy. Again, I think we spoke about this.
We've been here a couple of times.
It is awards material. Hasn't quite done the business or had the critical reception in the States to go up for the Oscar. But maybe, possibly, the BAFTAs trying to make up for that.
Well, certainly it's not surprising that the BAFTAs have given it a nod. A, because it was so brilliantly received over here, and then the difference in critical reaction is a bit bizarre. I don't completely get that, but, you know, it happened. But over here, it did get great reviews. And B, the BAFTAs love nothing more than to get a British film and just get it by a fire, start to slowly undress it.
It is also
it
is also in the category of outstanding British film, which is a slightly loaded category, isn't it? You know, but so there we go. I mean, I think people have for a long time thought about the BAFTAs as kind of just a prelude to the Oscars. You think I don't know. Just a recent trend I've maybe noticing is the BAFTAs are trying to perhaps predict what the Oscars will give out and maybe pick something else. So become an award show in their own right, because you don't want your award show essentially just being the Oscars round one, do you? I think they want to try and do something different. I think they've gone for more what they would consider artistic choices this year.
Well, I think they have less weight on their shoulders than the Oscars, so they're less scared to give awards to films that are less awards hoary. I think
the Oscars are far more bureaucratic than the most bureaucratic of all the film.
But then, wasn't it last year the BAFTAs went to town on the King's Speech as well?
Yeah,
I think it was like about 7, 8, and it was just, I have to say, King's Speech, great film, not a problem with it, but it was one of the most boring award ceremonies I've ever watched.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
It was just,
yeah. Anyway, no more needs to be said on that matter.
Right, something slightly more interesting to talk about. Outstanding debut, Paddy Considine's Tyrannosaur, which I haven't actually seen.
Nor have I.
No, I'm a big supporter of Paddy Considine.
He's one of those actors that you can tell by his face and the way he acts that he'd be a great director. So I have good faith in this one. And him in this one. James is smirking, but you know what I mean. You can just tell. Look at him. You can tell he's going to make nice things.
What's the actor in Tyrannosaur? The name of the actor, Peter Mullen, he's a very. I really like him. I've seen him in a lot of things. I don't think he's an actor who's got enough recognition over his career. He's in stuff like, I think he's in Warhorse. It's out at the minute. He's got a small part in that. He's in a film called Ned's from last year. If anyone's,
yeah.
He directed that as well. I think he's a really fine actor. And then Sophie from Peep Show is the
Olivia Colman.
Olivia Colman is the female lead in it. And apparently, I think there was some buzz around her. I mean, that doesn't seem to have come to fruition either. But there was some buzz around her back when the film came out last autumn. So yeah, I'm sure that is a fine film as well. Yeah.
Okay, I think one more category before we move on to our song, and
it's also predictable. Just go through it.
Okay, it is the last starred category. It's it's foreign film, and this year the Pedro
Almodovar.
I was waiting for somebody else to pronounce the name.
Almodovar, darling.
Almodovar, thank you, honey. The Skin I Live In, which, to be honest with you, I went to see. It is a good film. It didn't blow me away. It is the first of his films I've seen. Not really a particularly strong foreign film this year. Am I right?
I thought A Separation came out last year. I haven't actually seen it. I just remember it was on at the student cinema a few weeks ago. We did miss it, but I heard I heard a lot of buzz about that one. Skin I Live In, though. I did enjoy Skin I Live In, but I wouldn't say it was a masterpiece. I think it was solid.
Yeah, I like Almodovar. Haven't seen it. It's nice that he wins things there.
Yeah, I guess
it's
so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice filling metal pieces in Spain.
That leads us in no way onto our first song, which is by Coldplay. I've just seen it's 4 minutes long, which makes me grimace somewhat. So I think expect to fade out about halfway through.
It's only Chris Martin from Coldplay.
Yeah, I'd say try and enjoy, but we know you're not going to. There's a whole minute left of that. There's a whole minute left of what? It's just white noise. Just Michael, take it away.
Hi, well, welcome back to Close Up after the lovely cold interlude there. But yeah, well, please stay tuning. And we have got the Black Keys and Kasabian coming up, so things are looking up. But,
I will defend Coldplay against Josh's fiery temper, but for me, Chris Martin, you're on your own with that song.
Mine's a backlash because Paradise was Song of the Year apparently in some ridiculous
There's
chart
nothing wrong
last
with
year.
Paradise.
It's not Holocene by Bon Iver.
That it is not, or anything that's better than it.
Anyways, we're now going to move on from BAFTAs and all that jazz, and we're going to go on to reviewing the next 2 weeks of films in the Warwick Student Cinema. So I'm afraid this week I'm going to be as useless as Nando's cutlery because I haven't seen any of the films on this week. So I'm going to launch over to Dan. He's going to talk about The Ides of March, which is on tonight.
Is that Monday the 20th? Yeah,
Monday the 20th.
Monday the 20th. The Ides of March came out last autumn. Directed by George Clooney, starring Ryan Gosling, Marissa Tomei, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Paul Giamatti. It basically concerns itself with a state run for presidential candidates. One of whom is George Clooney, whose media PR advisor is played by Ryan Gosling. The film starts with Clooney leading the way. He is leading the polls. He is favourite to win the state battle, and he is tipped as possibly the favourite to end up in the White House eventually. However, Ryan Gosling becomes, through a series of poor judgments rather than anything despicable or twisted on his part, becomes slightly embroiled and starts having meetings with the other candidates' team, led by Paul Giamatti, and eventually this is relayed back to George Clooney's team and Ryan Gosling Sr., played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, and basically that kicks off a huge media storm, and Gosling's character finds himself becoming far too embroiled within the party politics, far too close to the media, and far too close to one specific person within Clooney's office, who, in such a situation, you'd be wanting to keep a distance from. The film, I think last year it came out. Last summer, I seem to remember the marketing push for this film came really strong. It had a superb poster. It had that lovely poster of Time magazine with George Clooney's face half, and then Ryan Gosling's face was the other. And the trailers came out, and it really seemed like people thought this was going to be one of the big ones for this year. Hasn't really worked out that way. The film received pretty positive reviews. The film has received nominations, a smattering of nominations, and generally, like a lot of George Clooney's films, has been regarded as a well-crafted piece of work. I would be inclined to agree with that. I think the film is good rather than great. I think it's got a bunch of fine performances. I think Ryan Gosling is strong, albeit I think it's his third best performance of last year. I preferred him in Crazy Stupid Love and Drive. I think Clooney is his usual solid self, though he is, as an actor, he's definitely more prevalent as a director this time around. As an actor, he's very much more of a background personality until we reach the finale of the film. I think the rest of the cast, Marissa Tomei, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Paul Giamatti, all the people I just mentioned are excellent actors and actresses. Evan Rachel Wood's in there as well. She's quite a decent young actress. The story, the screenplay is it's uneven. The middle section of the film is much more bloated than the other two. The film comes to a really nice crescendo. The finale is extremely involving. There's a beautiful scene between Ryan Gosling and George Clooney in the kitchen where you really get to see those two work as actors. They're very much minimalistic actors. These are guys who can do a lot with just so little. I think that's going to be Ryan Gosling's his modus operandi for the rest of his career, really. The beginning also sets it up very nicely. We get the atmosphere, the race atmosphere set up nicely, the inner workings of the office, the relations with the media, all that stuff's done really well. It's the middle where things start to evolve that the film gets a little bloated. It does what it needs to do, but just it takes a little bit too long to do it, and seems to focus in on things that maybe aren't always 100% relevant. We start to get a look at George Clooney's family life at one point in the middle. That never really pays off. It never really feels like something the film needs. This is very much Ryan Gosling's film as an actor. He is the presence in this film that drives it forward. And as an examination of a character who in that sort of situation, he's moving through this political turmoil, he's being forced to be castigated by someone, because he is in the film seen as a hotshot at the beginning of the film. He is the man. You want him in your corner. He is the guy to have as a presidential candidate, as your PR advisor, and to see him castigated throughout the film is an interesting story. I just think that it's a well-made film. It's well crafted. It's perfectly well done. Just not it. Award the film, and we talked about it earlier on. There's a dearth of films this year that have it. Great films, Oscar-winning films, or the true Oscar winners, tend to have like an X factor. It's hard to pinpoint. Something just falls into place. There's an extra innovation. There's an extra bit of flair. The Ides of March is just solid. It's completely solid. It's completely watchable. It's enjoyable. It's involving. It's well acted. Everything about it is well done. I just felt there was a slight lack of that final push to make it great. And I think those trailers, that poster, everything last summer, the pre-Gosling hype that this is going to be Ryan Gosling's year because Drive had come out at Cannes and everyone was going nuts for that. All that never quite paid off for this one. Completely recommend it. A strong watch. Just don't expect it in a year's time in a couple of years' time to still be discussing it. George Clooney has made better films before, and I guarantee as a director he will make better films in the future. But this is a solid stopover. This will do the job.
So it doesn't have I will have my vengeance in this life or the next line, just to take it that a little bit.
No, it's lacking that. It's lacking that right at the end.
Right, okay.
Missing that X factor, but recommended anyway for tonight?
Yeah, I'd just say it's worth a watch.
Okay, cool. And on tomorrow night then we have... Sorry. We have the 7th in our Oscar Tuesdays, which is Schindler's List, which Dan is also the expert. So my throat is really going bad this morning. I'm going to go outside for a bit.
Okay, so tomorrow, Tuesday the 21st, we have Schindler's List. The film, obviously, very, very famous film. It's coming up 20 years old, so it is now. The film's coming up 20 years old. It's directed by Steven Spielberg, and is actually famous for being the first film that won Spielberg the Oscar as Best Director. It focuses on the Oskar Schindler, who was a Jewish factory owner, or not a Jewish factory owner, he was a German factory owner, who played by Liam Neeson in this film, who gained a certain amount of infamy because he saved so many Jewish lives during the Holocaust by secretly employing them in factories, using with the help of his a very close friend and accountant, who's played by Ben Kingsley in this film. It's a fantastic film. It's a hard watch, but you don't need me to tell you that. You can hear the synopsis. You've heard about it. Everything about the film. It's very much interesting, actually, looking back, as Schindler's List is... The Spielberg we know today is very different than the Spielberg who's making films before Schindler's List. I think Spielberg made Jurassic Park just before Schindler's List. In fact, George Lucas is reported to have edited Jurassic Park because Spielberg was so embroiled with Schindler's List.
I can't remember. Was it the other way around?
No, Jurassic Park came out the summer. Schindler's List came out after. He made Schindler's List after.
Okay. Oh no, sorry. I thought it was the other way around. No.
Anyway, the film it's beautiful. It's a beautiful film to watch. It's obviously very harrowing. Liam Neeson's performance is absolutely phenomenal. Great performance. Ralph Fiennes, who plays a Nazi, an SS guard,
that's a brave performance.
Is terrifying in the film. Really terrifying. In fact, I think that's a performance that has really characterized the rest of Ralph Fiennes' career. He has played a lot of
psychopaths,
not even just really nasty guys over the last 20 years. And I think this is a performance that set that emotion. It's a performance strong enough to completely can almost define a career pattern. From a technical standpoint, obviously completely shot in black and white, bar the girl in the red coat, which is now a very famous moment in film, where the girl appears in the concentration camp in the red coat. It's a brave film. It's a mature film. It's obviously at that point Spielberg was famous for Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Jurassic, that sort of stuff. He's very much a warm heart, big on adventure, big on heart. E.T. was possibly his most successful film prior to that. I'm not 100% sure. But the thing, Schindler's List set in motion a new kind of Spielberg, slightly darker Spielberg, and he really does honour the legacy of the Holocaust, which is obviously, as a Jewish director and as someone whose father, he would have been at the right age where his father and his grandfather were probably directly embroiled in that war, and his ancestors, and they would have been very close to him. You can feel that he really honours it and really he depicts it as it was. There's an honesty, there's a brutality, and as I said, Liam Neeson, Ralph Fiennes, and even Ben Kingsley, who does a slightly softer role. They're all excellent. Everyone's heart's 100% in it. It deserved the wins it got. It's a superb film.
Yeah, I think I remember it now. It was the order in which he pitched the films to the studios. I think he was originally going to pitch Jurassic Park first, but ended up pitching Schindler's List first because it was somebody said to him, if you pitch a film about animatronic dinosaurs the one day, you are not going to get your Holocaust film the next day. So I think it was the order he pitched them and then released them slightly differently. Just want to ask you a question, because the Spielberg films I've seen, and this is not something I'm alone in, I tend to find as a director, he's far suited to lighter material, to the slightly more whimsical films like E.T., and perhaps struggles on the heavier stuff. Do you get that with Schindler's List at all?
Schindler's List, I would actually, to be honest, I'd be inclined to come onto your side a bit with that and say that Spielberg, it was the trajectory of his career, his better films, the films that will last the test of time, are the Jawses, are the Jurassic Parks, are the E.T.s. Schindler's List, however, is an exception. It is possibly his best film. But as a general rule, I would agree with you. I think he does tend to struggle with heavy stuff. Doesn't struggle with this one. I think it's also because it's such a close one to his heart. I think it's a passion project. It was a true passion project in every sense of the word when he was getting made.
I think it's always prone to sort of a sentimental streak at the end, though, no matter what the kind of subject matter is. Even Schindler's got a
it does have a slightly romanticized ending, but then you look at what this guy did, what the selfless act that Oscar Schindler did.
Yeah, but that's often one criticism that's kind of
it's a deserved romanticization. Interesting story. There's a famous US film critic who is, I think it might have been, I don't know if I'm saying Pauline Kael, I think it might have been. Again, this is the shoe prep we're doing here. But anyway, she's a notorious. She was at quite a mature critic when Spielberg started making films. She's always really despised him. And in 1993, when Jurassic Park and Schindler's List came out, she thought, well, I don't understand why people are getting in a fuss about this guy. He's doing what he's done for the whole of the before of his career. These are the exact same two films. And she refused to refer to them individually and instead called them Hasidic Park. Just referred to it as Hasidic Park in whenever she wrote about it. So I just thought that's an interesting anecdote. Always worth bringing up.
So, Josh, you look pensive.
Where does one go from there?
Yeah, not quite sure. Michael, bring us back.
One goes to Thursday with a 50-50. Anyone seen 50-50?
I don't think anyone.
Yes, I have seen 50-50.
Dan has. This is very much Dan's show.
Should we just, Mike? Do you want to go get breakfast or something?
You guys fancy a beer?
Yeah, just leave Dan to.
Anyway, 50-50 came out again. A bit of it came out in award season. Not a particularly awardsy cast. Well, maybe it is. We've got Joseph Gordon-Levitt. We've got Seth Rogen. We've got Ron Howard's daughter, Bryce Dallas, I believe is her name. And we've got Anna Kendrick, the adorable Anna Kendrick. Basically, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a guy in his late 20s, early 30s, lives a very healthy lifestyle, very good moral guy, kind of embroiled in a bit of a sexless sexless and passionless relationship with Bryce Dallas Howard's character. But overall, compared to his best friend, played by Seth Rogen, who's a bit, in typical Seth Rogen style, is a bit of a misogynistic D-bag. He is a good guy, but he finds out, despite his healthy living and his good and everything, he's got cancer. He's been diagnosed with a type of cancer that is dangerous. It offers a 50-50 chance of survival, henceforth the title. So basically the film concerns itself with his struggle with that. As a young man, that would be, you can empathize with that, and the relationship with the people around him. His mother, played by Angelica Houston, his crumbling relationship with Bryce Dallas Howard, Seth Rogen monopolizing on the cancer in some kind of creepy ways, but still in a weird way having his heart in the right place. And you've got Anna Kendrick, who plays the therapist, who plays Joseph Gordon-Levitt's therapist throughout the duration of the film. It's directed by Jonathan Levine, who previously directed All the Boys Love Mandy Lane, which I think is an underseen and decent slasher. He also directed The Whackness with Ben Kingsley, which I think is a really cringy indie film. Awful. So he's got a mixed track record coming into this one in my book, but I think as this is his first big true studio venture, I think this is an impressive debut. It's got it's occasionally lapses into the Rogenisms. I like Seth Rogen. I think he's funny. I think the slightly chauvinistic comedy doesn't always fit with this one, because I think this is a very heartfelt and well-rounded, three-dimensional story about a family and about relationships trying to pull through this tragedy. But other than that, it is a very strong film. It almost has a Woody Allen-esque vibe. The story flows very naturally. The dialogue is very sharp. The characters are extremely well defined, very definitive. You don't really see them blend together. They feel like a different group of people brought together, but a different group of people you could believe would become friends and would have become relations over the course of these years. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is excellent as always. Absolutely no problem with that. As his physical condition and his mental condition wanes, he sells it perfectly, and he completely keeps the audience on his side the whole time. Even when he's having tantrums and breakdowns, they feel earned in the film. Anna Kendrick is adorable. I don't know if there's that much to Anna Kendrick as an actress other than being kind of cute. That kind of seems to be her bag, but she's good at it. It suits the film because obviously, not to spoil it, but there's a burgeoning romance sort of relationship that goes on there. Bryce Dallas Howard is very good as well. Again, she seems to have fallen into the kind of the niche of playing the harridan in films, the kind of the young beautiful harridan. She kind of does that again here. And Seth Rogen plays, he does Seth Rogen, but he does Seth Rogen. If you want to have a Seth Rogen in your film, get Seth Rogen. It's kind of long. I think it hits the 2-hour mark. I maybe felt it was going a wee bit overboard from that standpoint, but there are some lovely scenes in here, and there's some lovely... It's written by a guy who actually, Will Ricer, I believe, who did have cancer. He did have it. It's autobiographical. And I just felt some of the monologues in it and some of these scenes, the small, quiet interactions between the characters, they felt like something that really could have happened, and they feel like they're put there, like he is written those on the page in a very heartfelt way. They feel close to him. The same way Schindler's List is clearly close to Spielberg, this feels very close to the writer. And Levine does a good job as a director. He organizes it well. He draws good performances out of the actors, and he focuses in. He picks key moments in the film where it is vital that the audience register that moment, where the audience is brought in, where that becomes a pivotal and memorable scene to drive and provide a catalyst for the arcs and the paybacks he wants to get later. So I think it's a well-made film. I would strongly recommend it, and it's got good laughs. You might get a couple of tears out at the end, and it's consistently involving. I'd recommend that one as well.
Can I just say something? I know a lot of people on our film course want to write for Empire one day. I think, Dan, I think you pretty much got it in the bag just on this show alone. But yeah, well, 50-50 recommended as well. Then.
Again, definitely worth a look.
We'll be right back. We're just going to play you our next song, which is Gold on the Ceiling by the Black Keys. It's a rocker.
Tweet the studio at Raw 12:51 a.m. This is your Raw.
Taking you into Orbit. This is Close Up with Alan Partridge.
Thank you, Michael. That's for me.
If anyone is listening, Sophie, Robin, we hope you're listening. Anyone else involved, please email us in with your thoughts, 1251@radio.warwick.
And the email address is studio@radio.warwick.ac.uk.
Well, you're the one with the computer, Josh.
Mike, sometimes I try and read that out and I get it wrong. Don't worry.
I'm flying blind here. And it's we're going to sail on. We're going to talk about the All Nighter, which is on this Friday. We're going to talk about that a bit later. We're going to move on to the next film on our list, which is Sunday the 26th, Melancholia. Josh and James, I believe you've both seen this.
Yes, Josh and I have both seen this. Yes, Lars von Trier is never a subject to approach lightly. I think there's the controversy at Cannes this year, the whole Hitler sympathy speech. He's like a naughty child, isn't he?
What he does, he'll occasionally make a film that's this good, as is this one, and yet he'll take the attention totally away from the subject of the film, and instead have all the press talking about his latest exploits. In this case,
at school, there was always that kid who loved getting kicked out of the classroom, loved being told off, loved being the badass. He's exactly that guy. When he got booted out of Cannes, I bet he was sitting there going, heh, 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 heh. Just feed into what he wants.
He's Dracula.
Okay, Melancholia comes off a really unusual trend. If you've ever heard of the other theory, it was a theory, posited in the last century that this planet's orbit around the sun was impossible. It was due to certain theoretical calculations and things like that. And there was a theory that there was another planet of equal size or larger to this one behind the sun that our planet acted as like a counter axis to. I mean, a theory that's almost been it's completely abandoned. It doesn't exist within the mainstream scientific community. However, 2 films this year have come out. And the other one is Another Earth, This Woman's Melancholia, about the possibility of another planet existing behind the sun. I mean, Melancholia is not a disaster film. Melancholia is not about a planet. I don't think it's a spoiler that Earth gets it in this film. It's in the opening scenes. Earth is destroyed by this planet. Melancholia itself takes place. It's a very unusual story. We have 2 main characters. We have Justine and Claire, 2 sisters who, at the beginning of the film, Justine is getting married to, a very good-looking, very wealthy young man. Justine seems to have it all. She has a wonderful job. She seems to have a very rich family. And we're at this stately home in the countryside. Now, during the course of the evening, Justine completely and utterly ruins her wedding. What are you playing?
What is Josh doing? He's just got this great big.
He's
grin
just
on
giggling
his face.
in the corner. Anyway, Justine ruins her wedding. She sleeps with another man during the wedding. She storms off at several points in the night, not just once, but 3 or 4 times. I think Von Trier's trying to make it quite clear that she's not an easy character to get along with. Now, what are you both giggling at?
What's going? All right, can we give Josh the mic? What is going on here?
Just playing Flash. I felt the situation needed it.
Right. Okay. So,
Continue.
You've ruined the show again. You've ruined the show. You shouldn't be allowed in here. Anyway, again, it's not a film. It's not a film about the disaster. The film takes place in a very unusual kind of world where you know the characters are trapped. You know the characters are going to be killed off at the end eventually. You know the Earth is going to be destroyed. I think it's, I think this is just an example of why it's so important to have momentum for Oscar nominations, because Kirsten Dunst is absolutely phenomenal in this performance. She's a character that appears as if she is going through hell. After the wedding, her husband, I don't know, presumably they get married. They must divorce because he's never seen again. She comes back to the stately home, very unusual again, in that you'd bring somebody back to a place with so many unhappy memories. It's actually the home. It belongs to her sister's husband, played by Keith Sutherland, who is more of a bit part character, but it is a good performance. And you know when when his character eventually leaves, when Jack Bauer goes, you know that things are going to go down. You know that things aren't going to turn out well. Again, she won the Actress Award at Cannes. It is a great performance. It carries the film. She's somebody who looks like they're going through hell. Again, with Lars von Trier, it's difficult to tell when he's taking himself seriously and when he's doing things for the sake of it. There's some absolutely incredible imagery in there. It's like a companion piece to the Tree of Life, except a piece rather when the Tree of Life was about the beauty of the universe, the beauty of everything. The melancholia is it's very depressing. Von Trier said it himself. It forms like a sort of a semi-autobiographical account of his own battle with depression. So it's got some wonderful imagery. It's got some great performances. One criticism of the film that has been made is that there is not a single likable character. Actually, I don't quite get this. I think Kirsten Dunst does add a vulnerability to her character. I don't think she adds an edge to it. I think it's a very testing film at sometimes. I think it does go slightly over the top. I think it does descend into a sort of melodrama that's not even self-reverential. I think he does just take it a little too far in terms of what we want to expect from it. But again, I do think it's a good film, and I think it is worth going to see this year. It's a thinking man's Armageddon.
So definitely one to watch on Sunday night then.
Thinking man's Armageddon. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of Trier, but it's a very good film, well made, well directed. I mean, he's very, very good with actors in this one. James said it all. Kirsten Dunst, mesmerising, very, very brave and very naked in more ways than one. No. It's like emotionally so as well as physically.
I thought that's what you were smirking at during the course of that. What can you just explain what was going on there? Because our listeners can't see.
Well, no, they can hear though. I thought that a film of this sort of magnitude, end of the world, bit of Flash. I put Flash on by Queen. Underneath James's
I missed that. I don't have
speech.
headphones on. Oh.
No. Just to clarify, James and Mike have no headphones on, so that's why they were so perplexed during the whole
well,
review.
now James does. I'm the Lone Ranger.
There's no Flash anymore, James. Michael, what's our next film?
Well, I'm actually going to have to. I'm going to be honest, listener. I'm afraid, due to shambolic planning on our part, we've actually got about 15 minutes and 6 more films to go through. So we're just going to blast through them. Next week, starting Monday, we've got Wuthering Heights, which is the new adaptation, directed by Andrea Arnold. Yeah, that's the one. Thanks, Dan. And which is free for Warwick Student Cinema members. So probably worth a look. I haven't actually seen Wuthering Heights. I've seen a few adaptations. Apparently, this one's one of the strongest. Set against a rural backdrop of kind of bleak, I think it's 19th century England. Kind of a love triangle between two families. I think Romeo and Juliet without all the shaky shake. And but yeah, becomes very, very twisted. It's a very, very dark film. A lot of uneasy themes explored. There's been some about necrophilia in there as well, possibly. Don't know if that'll be explored in this one. But if you are a member of Warwick SC, definitely check it out. It'll be free. Let us know what you think.
And based on Arnold's previous track record, Fish Tank. Have you guys seen Fish Tank?
Yeah,
That's
Fish Tank's great.
Fantastic.
Yeah. That kind of brought Fassbender to the fore. So we've got that. I heard thank Fassbender.
So yeah, one to watch out for. And then Tuesday we have 8th Oscar Tuesday, which is Amadeus. Anyone familiar with Amadeus?
Another song.
Amadeus.
Directed by Milos Forman, who I think is
Milos Forman, yeah.
Did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Man on the Moon, which are both very interesting films. I haven't seen Amadeus, but based on his track record, I would imagine that it is, and if based on the Oscar wins, I would imagine it's probably something worth taking in. He's a very interesting director.
Based on winning an Oscar for Best Picture, never a good benchmark to set yourself by.
Still, if you're a fan of Mozart, then probably one to watch out for. And then on Thursday, the 1st of March, it's already nearly March. We've got this is one seems a bit out of place, but still we're happy to have it. It's a Hitch classic, Alfred Hitchcock, North by Northwest. Yes. Guys,
with a microphone. This is Hitch's most outward, I think, adventure thriller. It's basically the classic mistaken identity man, that you sort of a case of the wrong man being singled out. It's starring Cary Grant, the George Clooney of his time, and he is just a regular Joe, you know, and he gets kind of mistaken for a spy by sort of a rival faction, and he's embroiled in this increasingly complex, contrived, convoluted espionage plot. And you know, there's so many iconic scenes of cinema. There's the crop duster scene. There's the Mount Rushmore at the end. It's just so ingrained in pop culture, and it's Hitchcock at his most sort of gleefully. Just fun. It's a fun movie. It's not.
Do you feel it's held up after all?
Oh,
the
definitely.
Kind of pop
I mean,
culture?
there's the occasional naff car chase, or I mean, the Rushmore scene at the end is a bit cringy because it's, you know,
bit overdone.
But so there's also the thing with Hitchcock is you look at all these scenes that have been parodied so much. Even the shower scene in Psycho.
And this film's not got the sort of the character depth of Psycho or the sort of psychological ambiguity of Vertigo, but it's his most purely enjoyable film. So go and see it on the big screen. You cannot go wrong.
So that's Thursday, the 1st of March. James, sorry, do you have something?
Yeah, if you're looking for a case of mistaken identity or a man on the run film, and you were disappointed by Abduction this year.
did we have to bring
I think
up
Cary
Taylor
Grant
Lautner?
does not look quite as good with his shirt off as Taylor Lautner, but he can act.
We actually saw. Thanks for this, James.
What kind of expectations did you have of Abduction if you weren't to disappoint? Yeah.
I'm just going to put a disclaimer out there. James Warren had the tremendous idea last Friday of let's go and watch Breaking Dawn, which I'm still very, very grateful for. Thank you. That was a true one experience.
There were 2 laughs in there, and there was some applause, and that was both for Taylor Lautner deliveries.
Can we clarify that as we take our films rather seriously, we watched Twilight completely ironically. We watched it to mock, to deride, to loathe. We knew it was going to be an awful film. My sister's a die-hard Twihard, and she loathed it. It was on par with The Wicker Man in terms of awful movies, but it was not as hilarious as Wicker Man. It was just dull. Honest to God, 2 hours long. Can you tell me what happened? Anybody? Did anything happen?
Well, nothing.
Did Kristen Stewart look like a hamster?
Yeah.
She did. And we're now, sorry, we're going to have to press on.
I was just going to say, if Sophie Cowell's listening, it is her favourite film, so if she wants to
really
text in, and it's definitely her favourite film.
Okay, yeah.
Well, welcome back to Warwick, Sophie. Friday the 2nd, we have Sherlock Holmes, Game of Shadows. Anyone got anything to say about that one? Good, bad?
No.
Yeah, it's actually, you don't... You're not a fan of the Sherlock Holmes franchise,
it's just I've got no beef with Downey Jr. Even Jude Law's quite good in it. Guy Ritchie, it's just as sort of Zack Snyder-ish slow motion. The bombast he brings to it just irritates me.
Right, okay. I would actually disagree. I think Sherlock Holmes is probably Guy Ritchie's best film because of the fact he hasn't written them. He's been allowed nowhere near the writing process. He's been locked in a cage for that, which is a good thing. I think with Sherlock Holmes, the original Sherlock Holmes, it was a good film. There was a lot of buzz about it. It wasn't expected to do very well, and it did. It made a lot of money. It's got a fantastic, again, central performance by Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. I do think the same problems exist with it, though, and that the main overriding one is the plot just isn't that interesting, and creaky, doesn't particularly build to much. You don't really care. That there's not much of a mystery or an intrigue there, and you know. Far be it for me to say, it's moving away from what Sherlock Holmes is meant to be out. You know, him solving cases, but it doesn't come off it doesn't come off as cerebral. It doesn't come off as intelligent. It doesn't come off as clever, and it has the same problems as the original one. But it does contain again a fantastic bromance, central performance by Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. I would say it's above your average action film, but don't expect much of an improvement over the first one.
So yeah, Bros of Warwick. If there's a pair of you, get on that Friday night. I think we're going to ignore Sunday the 4th, which is New Year's Eve, which
Has Ashton Kutcher in it?
We're gonna make a point of ignoring it. We know it's there. We're just gonna pretend it's not.
We'll run over that one. We're going to skate over that one. And
no film on the Sunday then.
We're going to talk about what's on Saturday, which is Die Hard. Robin, this is your time to shine. If you'd like to email in, guys, anything need to be said about Die Hard? Die Hard is
the greatest action film ever made.
Don't think there is.
Get your vest on and just go check that out.
Can anyone do like an impression of Hans Gruber when he's doing the Texan accent? Like you have to go into Hans Gruber mode.
I'd like to hear yours, Dan.
And then you have to. I don't know if I can do it.
I'd like to after your Sean Connery and your Michael Caine as Sean Connery.
I'll attempt one now. You gotta forget the sort of the cowboy king going.
Well, that's
Mr. McLean.
No, I have a machine gun.
Yeah, he's in German. I just love the part where he pretends he's from Texas and he's just like, he doesn't even sound remote. He sounds like he's from some sort of
Mr. McLean. No, I still quite German.
What's his name? I don't know. It's probably the least important.
Anyway, Potter. We need to play our final song. It's Kasabian Goodbye Kiss. This is a great song, so you will enjoy this because we do.
Welcome back to Close-Up's Abbey Road edition. I say Abbey Road because it began with all of the epics, which were Dan, and now it's just become a messy medley. We still hope that it's retained the quality, though. We're now going into talk about the All-Nighter, which is on Friday the 24th, this Friday. We're just going to try and blast through that. Guys, what do we think of the lineup this year? We've got this term. Tintin, Ghostbusters, Three Musketeers, The Mystery Film, Puss in Boots, and Airplane. What do we reckon?
Pretty mixed bag.
Mixed bag.
Very, very mixed bag.
Tintin's fun. Ghostbusters is Ghostbusters. The Three Musketeers is a Paul W.S. Anderson film. Puss in Boots is a...
That's the best critique of the Three Musketeers I've ever heard. It is a former Warwick alumni, Dan. Come on, let's have some support there.
Yeah, pull through together.
He's a dark horse of the Warwick Film Department, isn't he? He's like, oh yeah, Stephen Merchant.
You're going to say the Oscar race then.
Stephen Merchant came here. Not dark horse. What's the child that everyone hates?
Black Sheep.
Black Sheep.
Black Sheep. I don't twisted mutant in the attic.
Well, what he is, we can't say on the radio. But yeah, he's like, oh yeah, Stephen Merchant came here and Paul. But we don't talk about him.
Puss in Boots as well, which I think is. I mean, it got better reviews in some of the later Shrek sequels, but that's
it did fairly good business in the States as well. Yeah. I haven't seen it personally. It didn't get much. I didn't get much of a push here, a commercial push here. I don't remember the advertising drive.
Was it? I mean, Shrek always gets a big shove, but I don't know.
And Airplane is pretty hysterical.
Airplane is a laugh a second, isn't it?
The only problem with that is it's right at the end of the night, so you're going to be absolutely shattered.
Well, you watch it in memory of Mr. Nielsen. I keep forgetting he's dead. When I realise that he's dead, I get upset all over again. I'm like Lenny from Memento here.
It's really upsetting. But what do we reckon the mystery film is, guys? I mean,
last term was Princess Bride, wasn't it? Which is like an 80s campy cult classic. So
I really hope it's X-Men 3.
Well, me, Josh, and James aren't going to be able to watch it this time. Dan, are you going to be able to?
I don't think I will be. I think I have friends from across the pond coming over, and I think I'd be hard pressed to get them to go to see the Three Musketeers.
I really hope it's the Wicker Man remake.
The thing is, if it's a really, really good film, then
it does shift the balance a bit.
Gutted. Yeah.
I mean, because. Yeah, looking at that, I mean, I'm assuming most people have seen Ghostbusters. Most people know what they're getting into there. Tintin is worth a watch. I don't think it's one of Spielberg's best or even remotely
It's not been a great year for Spielberg this year, has it?
But I think,
last year, rather.
I think it's fun, though. I did enjoy watching it. It's got a good sense of humour, and there's a couple of really good action set pieces. The Three Musketeers.
Three Musketeers, Puss in Boots, though. I mean,
Three Musketeers is...
not really something you'd want to go for.
It's just so mediocre all across the board. Paul Anderson, he's not an absolutely objectionable director. He is. He doesn't go down. He doesn't do the Michael Bay route of making everything chauvinist. He's just he can't write for Toffee either. He is an awful writer.
He's a dull director. The Resident Evil series are awful. You know exactly.
So I guess it all hinges on the mystery film, really. What
it does. I believe that's the cue for the end. I would really like you to tune in 2 weeks for I promise I will give the most epic Breaking Dawn review you've ever heard.
we actually had a tweet, didn't we, guys? We should just bring up
we had a tweet.
Although you
Ofcom might object.
Yeah. According to Sophie, James is she's not going to wake up next Monday and only listen to Close Up for Mike and Dan. I don't know what I've done. James, thank you for that. So I'm going to start saying goodbye. We've got 45 seconds left of our show time. I don't want to eat into the next show because I'll get angry. So thank you for listening, you one person or half a person. You know, it's goodbye from myself
and from me.
Fare thee well.
Have a good 2 weeks, guys.
Enjoy a bit of bush.